All right, folks, thanks for tuning into the channel. I'm Dave, and this is Save America, Vote for Tulsi Gabbard. And the reason you should vote for Tulsi Gabbard is because she is the best presidential candidate out there right now. I know there's some Bernie people that come over and they watch and they say, hey, what about Bernie? What about Bernie? I don't dislike Bernie, but I'm just not a Bernie guy. We'll see what happens. We'll see how things shake out. Some people just keep saying, Bernie and Tulsi. I would prefer Tulsi and Bernie, but, I just think we need some youth. We need somebody with military experience. We need somebody that has made the endless war meme their number one campaign issue. And it's in Bernie's issues. Bernie tends to talk about Wall Street and some other things that are important, for sure. And I know Tulsi holds most of those opinions as well. But the reason I'm over here, Bernie wouldn't have got me over here. Tulsi got me over here. And Tulsi got me over here because she's not afraid. Bernie, to me, I think he might buckle under pressure. He might fold up. I don't think Tulsi Gabbard's going to do it. I mean, I watch her at the town halls, and she's just a bulldog. She's relentless. Her number one core issue is going to be endless regime change wars and the trillions of dollars we spend, and how war is not a business model. It's not. But we are sold this business model every single day. Part of the economy, part of propping up the economy when it goes south, or when there's a downturn, a recession. Well, who can we go and bomb? Seriously. And this has been going on for quite some time. What we're doing in Venezuela right now is criminal. It's criminal activity. And if private citizens were to do it, they would be arrested for doing it. And it violates international law. It also violates the United States Constitution, which says that Congress shall declare war. Now, what's happened is presidents have skirted by this because it's an operation. It's not a full-scale war, although people die on either side. That would be considered some type of wargaming. And the fact that we're splitting hairs over this and we're not getting congressional approval, because if you were to get congressional approval, and you might even get it, because there are a lot of neocons and neo-libs on both sides that are all like, yeah, we got to go. Marco Rubio, guy from Florida, I live in Florida, he's just out of his mind. He just thinks there's a Russian behind every tree that's waiting to listen to us or to sabotage something. It's bizarre behavior reminiscent of the Cold War when it was really in full swing. Tulsi Gabbard has addressed that, and the media has played into that. The fact that there are progressives, which I love, like Jimmy Dore talks about this all the time, where he says, we've been talking about how this Russiagate thing is fake forever, because they just knew that Trump wasn't that sophisticated. He just isn't. He just ran a fly-by-night, seat-of-your-pants, wing-it campaign, went to a lot of stadiums, talked to a lot of people, and won because Hillary was a horrible candidate. And Trump, by the way, was a guy who promised less war, less intervention, but he's not driving the car anymore. He's not driving that. He just handed the wheel over to Elliott Abrams and John Bolton. John Bolton should be tried for war crimes. If the whole Iraq thing wasn't enough for you, and he's back, and here's a guy, Donald Trump, who said, hey, I was totally against the Iraq war, but yet I'm going to put Bolton in power. I'm going to give him a job. Just insane. War is not a sustainable business model, even though for the last half century, American foreign policy has been based on that, propping up corporations who are part of either making stuff for war or, advancing the cause of war, agreeing with war. You have business executives who claim to be libertarian, like the Koch brothers, who have invested in all kinds of things that are really, really questionable. Yeah, I know they built a library somewhere and everybody's all so happy about it. But the point is, it's, again, big business colluding with a big government. And, everybody says, the era of big government is over. Not unless they get rid of all of their collusion with big business. I mean, imagine that. People are complaining about big government. And I'm not here to tell you that government runs well. It does not. People need incentives, and sometimes, their cushy job where they sit there all day and do very little, depending on what job it is. They're not a dedicated public servant. They're just getting, a government paycheck. That's bad. But equally bad is some big corporation somewhere who is more or less controlling our foreign policy and agreeing that the warfare state has to continue. You want to cut some welfare? Cut some corporate welfare. I mean, come on. The corporate welfare is a lot more expensive than the welfare you're giving, the single mom. Let's just be honest. I mean, it's not progressive to say that. It's just common sense to say that. So if you really want to make some cuts to government, start with corporate welfare. And then you can look at all the waste, fraud, and abuse. And then the military interventions, which are the big one. And that's where Tulsi Gabbard is better than the other candidates. She understands that these military interventions are costing us lives. Number one, they're costing us lives. That should be the first, because lives are more valuable than anything else. Next, they're costing us respect around the world because we stick our nose in places that it doesn't belong. And then countries who aren't even involved in where we're going, those countries tend to look at us as this evil police force as we militarize everything. Just crazy, and I don't know, it doesn't help. And obviously the expenditures, which nothing costs more on that budget agenda than going to war. Nothing costs more. There's no funding for any project or thing. Infrastructure would be close if we actually took care of it, but we're not. We're just piecemealing it, and then we're giving $1 trillion over here to whatever war effort we're involved in every single year. And that's why we've got a national debt of $22 trillion. Again, Tea Party people, where the heck are you? Where'd you go? You got Trump elected, but Trump wasn't even really in your wheelhouse on those principles, because, here's a guy who said he'd fund Medicare and Social Security and all that, and so you just completely washed your hands of the other stuff creating the debt. I mean, the social programs aren't the biggest expenditures. People blame them all the time, but they're not the biggest expenditures. The biggest expenditure is war. And these regime change wars just seem to be even worse in a way than, say, if we went to war and we were fighting and just to protect our homeland, which, that hasn't happened for a while, okay? Hasn't happened for a very long time, but yet we need to continue to go around the world and be this police force, and then we have to go and fix the stuff that we break. So this is a great unifying point for both the left and the right. If the right gets out of their brain the fact that somehow we have to, it's like manifest destiny, it's the Monroe Doctrine, it's all of this crap, which is some of the worst behavior in our history, to be involved with this kind of thought process that somehow we are sort of ordained by a higher power to take care of the globe and to make things right. And the people who don't want intervention, by the way, are not cold and heartless, because the countries themselves end up being worse off after we do what we're doing. It's just a fact. I mean, you can look it up. You can look at any of the countries that we've gone into and see how they do after our regime change happens, and how much chaos and turmoil. I mean, even Saddam Hussein, everybody said, hey, you know, Saddam Hussein's a bad guy, but things were relatively tranquil over there, and then we went in, and then the whole region got screwed up. So war is a bad business model, and it's just going to get worse if we allow another neocon. Look, Trump's been co-opted. I mean, I'm not trying to give Trump any credit, because I think Trump's pragmatic, and he looked at things and he said, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I'll let the military just do what they normally do. I'll try to worry about domestic policy, but you know what? You can't have a sound and coherent domestic policy if the war machine is allowed to crank up to 11, because that's what's happening right now. And these guys are running around shooting their mouths off like it's George W. Bush again, people. And that scares the hell out of me. And we're not doing this. We can't. That's why we need Tulsi Gabbard as president, and we need her ASAP in 2020. People say 2024, or they're looking at her in the future. We need her now. We need this now, and we know she can win. She's got all of the traits to be a great leader. She communicates well, and it's time. It's time we get over ourselves and put the Monroe Doctrine away, put the Manifest Destiny away, and think about our future, our kids, our grandkids, and all the stuff that we could actually have debates about. Domestic policy we could actually get done if we weren't pissing our money away all over the world. All right, done. Be back soon. See you then.